Good morning. This is Alan Butler with Butler Contracting, and today we're here to talk to you about our awesome fence project we have going on here in Tahitian Village in Bastrop. Our customer, Mr. Tubb, hired us to put in a fence, and at first he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do, except he has a couple dogs, and they just moved here from West Texas. His wife took a new job, and he retired, so he's trying to enjoy his time. So he came out here, he wanted a fence put together. He had a couple of folks that he called around town to come out and give him some proposals or bids on fencing, and some guys kind of left. They never got back to him. One guy came out and saw this creek over here, and they didn't want to touch the project. They'd only build a fence in a different part of the location of the property. Some of the folks just didn't know what to do out here. There was a lot more vegetation out here that was cleared in order to get this fence in as well. It was a pretty big project for our crew to take on, and it was great because we like challenges. So we basically construct. Basically, what that is we have a 16-foot span across this from the bank full height, which is the top of each side of the bank. We have Schedule 40 metal posts that are 11 gauge thickness right here. These pipes right here, those are a lot thicker than the ones that are on your standard privacy fence. And basically, what those are, they're drilled 4 feet in the ground, anchored with concrete into the ground. On each side, we have a 2x6 rail system with pickets on it, all suspended with structural lag screws on the Simpson brackets to span that area. So it's nice and solid and sturdy. Even though it's up in the air, it's going to be nice and solid. We've actually done a very similar design to this in Tahitian Village in another location over 2 years ago. I was actually over there looking at another project the other day for that client, and it's still holding up just great. And that one was even more challenging than this. So that's great to see that this process and system is working well. He was really concerned. He has 2 small dogs, so he's wondering how to keep them in and retain them in and not impacting the drainage issues going on out here. So I discussed the water gate feature with him and a couple different designs. This is the one that he settled on choosing and wanting to do. Basically a 4x4 mesh hog panel style, goat panel kind of fencing, and you put that across here suspended with a cable and a turnbuckle so it can be adjusted over time. And then that paneling gets cut with the contour and shaping of the stream or the bank. And then you have a T-post in the middle with some really thin gauge wire. So when debris and water presses up against that, it'll actually break or cause that wire to come loose. And then on the cable, it'll swing open and it'll allow any of the water and the debris to flow through. And as the water recedes after the flooding event or the high flow event, then it'll come back down. And you just come out and refasten it with some simple wire. And you could use zip ties or anything. We like to use wire because zip ties break down over time in the UV light. So a good example of what a water gate feature system looks like and how we could do one for you at your property if you have a situation like this. Some of the other stuff we're doing out here is pretty cool. We built, so it's a little over 600 foot of privacy fence total, and we have several gates. We also created and constructed a building pad on a sloping hill, and right now the building's being delivered by Sturdy Built Buildings here in Cedar Creek for our customers. So as we talked about a little while earlier, I mentioned some Schedule 20 metal pipe that was 14 gauge in thickness, and one of the things I wanted to go over here is a piece of that. So if you got any Lowe's, Home Depot, McCoy's, any local suppliers around here, you can see a lot of these galvanized steel pipes, these posts, and you'll find them at the stores locally, but none of them really have this thickness. They're not this size. They're not have this durability. So when you're at those places and some of the other contractors locally, they use a lot of undersized post and pipe for their fences because it's locally what you can get. We go an hour away to pick these up for our customers because we can't get any local suppliers to carry them. I've tried multiple ones. So we go out of our way to go get these for our customers, and they're just really stout, really thick. They meet the wind requirements as far as the International Building Code, getting over that 90-mile-an-hour wind shear. For example, in Elgin, they actually have a building code that says 6-foot privacy fences cannot be built with 4x4 wooden post any longer. They have to be metal posts, and they have to exceed that 90-mile-an-hour wind rating. So that's a good example of a location locally where these types of posts are actually required, but a lot of people aren't following the proper building code. So make sure if you're getting a consultation or an estimate on a fence that you're make sure that your contractor is actually following the proper building code. But one of the things I want to show you is our gate system. But this is a fabricated gate that we use, and it's really solid and stout. So you can see that our downrod system is nice and heavy duty. The ones at Lowe's, Home Depot, there's really thin pieces of black metal. Most of them are about this diameter. High windstorm, that stuff's just gonna bend and break. You can almost bend them with your hand most of the time. Our gate systems are all nice and metal framed. You can adjust them over time with the cross bracing. The hinges are really solid. This hinge system is very durable. You're not going to have issues with it bending and breaking and falling off, or lag bolts stripping out of the wood later on down the road. All of our gate systems, we work with the manufacturer directly, 2-year parts and labor warranty. There's a problem, call us, we'll take care of it. So that's kind of a little bit different of how we build gates and the way we do things versus just tacking and screwing some wooden ones together. We see everything from people using just regular smooth shank nails. They'll use deck screws, all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on, and they just don't work because there's so much weight to them. If you don't have a good solid frame, it's just not going to last. It's going to sag.